we are again. Welcome to the intro to scanning down signatures. This is going to be a pretty short, high-level training of, what kind of different options you have for scanning down signatures, what they are, and just some general tips and tricks. Basically, signatures are spots in space that have not been, discovered yet. So you can use your probe window to uh, warp towards, asteroid sites or combat sites or any that kind of content. But some of them, they show up as, kind of unknown, and then you need to have a scanning ship to uh, yeah, to scan that location and pinpoint it, and then you can warp to it. Um, we'll quickly go over a couple of ships. I won't go into deep on them, but this is a example of a scanning ship. This is the Buzzard. It's a T2 scanning ship. The T1 uh, little brother of him is the Heron. Um, Scanning is basically done with a probe launcher, which is like this module. Um, and then the probe launcher fires probes. So, for instance, you can use like a regular core scanner probe. You fit these in the core scanner, core probe launcher like ammo. You shoot them into space. They make you fire them in a kind of pattern way, and then you can use your probe window to start scanning down these unexplored sites, basically. You got a couple of different kinds of probes. Uh, for instance, you got your normal ones, and you got two different ones of faction probes. The faction ones are, of course, better. And you also have a couple different types of core probe launchers. So you got your normal, your T2, and a faction one, which is also better, but the most expensive, of course. Um,
The
Fitting one of
probes, the sister probes themselves, super worth it to grab like right away. The
yeah,
sister probe launcher gets a little bit spendier to possibly toss onto a ship, so maybe not on your first couple. But once you've gotten used to like wormhole scanning, it's so worth it to add those sister core scanners because you're gonna like scan down points faster.
yeah, that's really true. These are very, I don't want to say inexpensive because they're still
Yes,
I don't know if I can check it here. Yeah,
they're
they're a little bit overpriced here, but yeah, you need 8 of them, so you're looking at, if you buy them here, you're looking at 4 million ISK, which is of course more than the ship is
the
worth in
entire fit.
total, but
Yeah. And if you get a whole
still really
stack of
good.
16, it's like it's like, 4 times, 8 times your ship value. It's going to be the most valuable thing on your ship except for your loot. But it makes you go a lot faster. So once you've done a couple runs, it can be worth it to mess with that.
Yeah, really true. Um, yeah, how you fit the scanning ships is doesn't really, you know, you've got a whole range of things you can fit on there. The most important part is, of course, the core probe launcher. Another important part is uh, putting a cloak on your ship, uh, especially if you're going to go into low sec or null sec or even wormhole space. You can fire your probes into space, and then you can cloak up and do your scanning cloaked. So that's really good to know. If you want to, for instance, uh, scan for like data sites or relic sites, it's always good to have at least one of these modules already fitted to a ship. But that's, it's just what you want to do. In this class, we're just going to show the scanning itself, not really the doing or running a data site or relic site, just trying to find one of these sites. That's what we're gonna do. Then you got a couple of modules that will help you in either scanning better or faster. We'll quickly go over these. These are some scanner upgrades which you can put in the mid slots. I'm just going to put them side by side here. So you got the scan acquisition array, which basically it decreases the scan time, so you'll be able to scan like more times in a minute. So that's really good. You got the scan pinpointing array. There's a little bit of a deviation on the probes themselves if you scan. So this tries to reduce that. And then you also got the scan range finding array, which basically improves the scanning strength of the scan probes. So you'll be able to scan down more difficult sites in the end with that. And then you also have the gravity capacitor upgrade, which is the only rig you can use in the game to improve the scan probe strength again. Now, for instance, this is just for Tech 1 Heron fitting. If we simulate this and we put in some some regular charges, say that for instance this is the first ship you're gonna ever use to scan stuff, you'll have a base strength of, at least I have a base strength of 101 points, which is more than enough to scan down stuff. If we're gonna look at the T2 bigger brother, the Buzzard, that one has at the moment 120 points, so the higher it goes, the better it is at scanning. Yeah, so you've got some other ships as well. So, for instance, the Probe, which is the Minotaur version, and then you got the Magnate and the Helios for the Amara and the Galente factions. I prefer to use the shield-based ships like the Probe and the Heron, for the sole fact that they have more mid slots, so I can fit more stuff in there, and the Heron itself would be my favorite choice to use, just because of the fact that I have, I've got, if I look at the Heron here, I've got enough room to fit some of these scanning upgrades and still, do fit my data analyzer and propulsion mod and just go ahead and try and find some stuff. So this would be my go-to thing basically. Yeah, you also have the Cheetah, which is the Tech 2 version of the Probe. It's kind of how you want to fit it, but these are just suggestions. Of course, the T2 versions of the scanning ships are called Covert Ops, and they can also use Covert Ops cloaking devices, so they can warp cloaked. They increase your evasive maneuvering and systems, of course, and they can also fit these interdiction nullifiers, which negate the effects of warp disruption spheres, so you can move through nullsec a little bit more safely. And then we also have some faction ships you can use out of all the...
Soto just asked if you could cloak while hacking, and the answer is no, because you have to be with... you can't target anything while you're cloaked, and you have to have the thing targeted in order to hack. And then on top of that, you're going to want to be close enough to loot it, and if you get close enough to loot it, that will break your cloak as well, so,
sorry,
there are a number of reasons why.
Yeah, sorry about not seeing that question. No, you can't sadly cloak when you really like running the data
But
or relic site. You can, however, scan them up front, which
yep,
is I don't one of these fittings has a cargo scanner fitted. Don't know which one, but
you can't scan them while cloaked because you have to build a target to scan,
oh no,
don't you?
no, no, no. Yeah, that's true. You can't be cloaked while having an active lock on something.
Yep.
But you can use something like this. You can if you like lock onto the uh, data relic site cache and use the cargo scanner first, then it will tell you what it will drop when you break the seal on it. So that's also good tips and tricks. Um, yeah. So for all the Tech 1
Yeah.
ships, there is also a faction version, which is more combat oriented. So for instance, we got this Heron Navy issue here, which has bonuses to missiles. So for instance, I'm just gonna put some ammo in here. If you use the so if you use the Sisters expanded probe launcher and although that's a bit too much core scanner probes, but then you get 100 scan points and you can get just above out of 100 DPS out of this. It's not gonna run the better combat sites, but it's gonna give you a little bit of more protection against possible NPCs that spawn in your data site or whatever. So that's what these are for. You also have ships like the Astero, which are definitely way better at doing combat sites also. You can also, this is more of a relic and a data site runner, but you can also fit this more like a actual combat ship. You can use a lot of drones on this one. This is also a really good option to go with. And then you got the bigger brother to the Astero, which is the Stratios. This specific fitting is basically a combat fitting for doing
Yeah.
combat sites that you scan. So you can scan down a combat site that that is unknown to you unless you scan it, and then you can use the Stratios to kill the NPCs in the site. So this is
It's also a very common exploration killer. So if you
yep,
see a Stratios out there when you're out descanning, when you're doing stuff, you don't stop. You don't stay in that system. They're gonna hunt you down and kill you because your little probe or whatever will die to them, and they'll take all your loot. And
yep.
it is very frustrating. So avoid Stratios.
Yeah, it's indeed also a very potent and able PvP ship. Uh, so
Yeah.
that's
It's technically non-meta for killing people that way, but people use it, and so you have to be aware.
yep. Yeah. So this one's is also really good. It's a lot more expensive, of course, but if you wanna take up to the next level and use a cruiser, then this is really good. And then if you if you don't really want to go into a Stratios and you do want to have something a little bit bigger that has bonuses to exploration and scanning, you can use a Gnosis. I'll show you the page for the Gnosis real quick. It does have a roll bonus for having a 37.5 bonus to core and combat scanner probe strength. So that you can use that
Note
as
that combat scanner probe strength. That's another one that will hunt you down
yeah,
if in system. So
yeah, yeah.
it's another one to be careful about.
Yeah, yeah, we're gonna go over that in a bit, in a little bit as well.
Sorry.
Oh no, that's fine. Um, so then you could, like, if you simulate this, this is, you've got also a lot of mid slots to fit up whatever you want to fit. Because it's a battle cruiser, it's going to be a little bit more slow to move around, but you will still be able to scan at a decent amount of, that's good. 112 points. yes, you know, if you want to have a slightly bigger scanning ship, which is, you know, better at taking in some damage or whatever, or if you want that, which is not as expensive as the Stratios, you can always go with the Gnosis, as it's, you
That's
know,
even cheaper than a Astero, right? An Astero fit for exploration is 150 mil.
yeah, true. But
So
the Astero will be
it's
better.
it's bonus differently. It's good for hacking and stuff. True.
Yeah, but
It's good.
The Astero will also be more. It will be better to use in null and low sec because it can fly cloaked. Uh,
Right.
and it's, you know, it's a frigate, so you'll be able to warp off faster because this thing warps off.
Yeah.
Yeah, 5 seconds is not bad actually.
But the Astero you can get down into below insta lock, so
Yeah, so
which is 2 tick.
yeah, but Gnosis is really good also to just try out and try in high sec. So that's just a couple of ships. So you can start off with the Tech 1 um, frigate. You can go up towards a Tech 2 frigate, which would be my uh, personal choice of preference, or you can check one of these faction ones. I don't really know these, like this faction Heron. It doesn't really have an extra bonus to uh, probe strength, so it won't scan faster or better. It's just so you can shoot NPCs better. So if that's what,
It's for faction warfare. So
yeah,
there are faction warfare exploration sites, and you want to be combat fitted for those, and so you use the fleet issue ships for those.
yeah. So yeah, it's basically for that, yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's
otherwise,
like
if
the only use case.
yeah, and then if it's, you know, if you just wanna scan stuff and it's safe, you can also just use a T2. Um, that was all the technical bits in terms of ships and fitting. We'll just head outside of this station and we're gonna see if we can scan some stuff. We are in high sec, so we might not be able to find any really difficult sites, but maybe we find a wormhole we can go in there. Um, yeah, so how to scan basically. If you press the uh, I have already opened it, but if you press Alt plus P, you open your probe scanner window, which I always have here. And then from your probe scanner window, you can check the solar system map. I haven't got any probes out at the moment because you will be able to see them here. But I do see here on my probe scanner window that I have quite a nice selection of stuff that I could scan for. So now what I want to do at first is, you know, I am relatively safe here, but I am going to warp towards a safe spot so I can try and scan these things down. Um, we'll have to wait.
You can deploy your probes while you're going to warp.
Well,
Um,
yeah, you can deploy the probes indeed before you go to warp. If you're already in warp, then you won't be able to shoot
yeah,
into space. So the trick is basically what you do is you arrive at your safe spot, you shoot your probes into space. You can at that point cloak up, and now you're basically safe to start scanning. Now, if you look at the solar system map again, we see some strange uh, like balloons here, which are basically the 8 probes that you just launched into space, and they are, you know, set up in a small pattern. You can choose different patterns over here. So this is the pinpoint formation one, and you can also choose the spread one. Then it, you know, it spreads out a little bit more. And then you can also, we're not going to go into that because that's more advanced stuff. You can also move these balloons independently of each other, and you can form your own pattern. You can save that, and yeah, you can also like center them, you know, back onto your own ship. of where you are. Over here, a little bit to the right, is the size of where you're scanning, what your scanning region is. If you make that smaller and bigger, the balloons get, bigger and smaller, and you'll have to start zooming in again to see them. You also have some info here all the way to the right. It shows your scan strength, the deviation, which is basically, sometimes you get a little bit of difficulty of pinpointing the exact location of where a site is. It will give you two possible options of where it is, and you'll have to scan in between. So that's what the deviation does basically. You got a scan duration time, um, and then the last one is to recover your probes again. We're going to do that now, just to show what it does. If you're cloaked, you can still press the recover probes. Oh wait, they are too close to me.
Yeah, they're too close. You have to send them out once, and then
I'm just gonna send them out all the way over here. So I've dragged them over to this place. I've analyzed, so they're going in that direction. So it has scanned. Now if I press this button, they're gonna go back into my ship, which is good. You can do that while being cloaked. You can, however, not send out new probes if you're cloaked, so you'll have to decloak, send new probes out into space, and then cloak up again. That's basically your controls. Now we're going to do some scanning for real. Most of the time I just set them at the, I see all these red X's here. Those are your signatures, which are not yet scanned down. So I just, at first I do like I use the spread formation and just scan once, so I get some more info on the sites here. It's gonna scan. It will show you this bar basically, and then when it's done, you see like a small increase in how far along you are in scanning the site basically, or the signature. That's basically the same. If you click on these, they show up in the map. As you can see, I've clicked on this one, it highlights. If I click on another one, it highlights over there. And now you can decide, which ones do you want to scan. Now if you, for instance, want to lock onto this one, you can just click it. It centers it here. If you want to scan down that one, you can see, well, there's a lot of them over here. Let's try here. So now we're going to use the pinpoint formation one. Now, for instance, this is a little bit, it might be a little bit, the bubbles might be a little bit small. Some of them might be outside of this, but we'll just try it anyways, just to see what happens. So now, lowering this number and making the bubbles smaller lets them basically scan more in the target area. So these, as you can already see now, I've almost already completely scanned down this combat site here, and the other ones have improved as well. So you need to further zoom in and pinpoint on these sites in order to fully scan them down. So we're going to try and get this combat site to 100% completion. There are a couple of different sites you can find. You can find combat sites, relic sites, you've got data sites, you can find wormholes which lead to wormhole space, and you can go through them and do more scanning or stuff there. You can also find gas sites, for instance, which, you know, that they have gas or any other type of. Sometimes they have a combat element to them as well. So those are like a couple of examples of stuff you can find. So you can also see the scanning difficulty level of stuff that you're trying to scan. This one is level 2. That's, you know, it's really doable. If you go into the higher levels, like level 4, it's gonna you need like really good scan strength in order to scan it to 100%. And if your ship doesn't have enough scan strength, then you won't be able to scan the signature to 100% at all. So at that point, you'll need to either refit your ship or take, you know, or use a better, yeah, a better ship. We're gonna double click on, you know, we've double clicked on this. You know, you can see that this is the center of where the probes are scanning. You can move this along, basically. You can move it in any direction you want. And you'll have to like rotate around the thing that you want to get scanned to 100% in order to see if you've got it like in the center, because you want it to be as close to the center of, you know, that site as possible. And of course you want to have it pinpoint it even more, so you decrease the AU value again. And then, for instance, now I will probably most definitely scan it to 100% in one go. And then it gives you like this blingy sound saying, hey, you know, you've done a good job. You've got the you've scanned it to 100%. And then you can either right click here and say, you know, warp towards this, and it will also save the site in your probe scanner window, saying, you know, it's 100% scanned, and you can, you know, warp to it, save location. We are going to warp to this at range, just so you can see,
Warp drive active.
you know, what we've found. Just gonna close this for now. So then at this point you can, you know, this is a lot of these. This is a combat site, so a lot of these combat sites are locked behind an acceleration gate. Some of the relic sites are also locked behind an acceleration gate. So at this point you can grab your you know, your NPC combat ship, and you can do the site, or you can do some more scanning. So we're gonna try and find one more signature. We still have our probes out in space, but they are still focused on this, you know, this one particular site. So you manually need to select a new pattern again. We're gonna go for this one all the way over here. I'm hoping that is gonna be a wormhole system. Just gonna put it over there, make it a little bit smaller. I haven't really centered on the you know, on this site as of yet, because I just want to have, I first want to check where it is. And as you can see, it's not really where I started scanning, but it's more to the edge. So now we can do some more pinpoint scanning, and we can move like a pinpoint formation, make it a little bit larger, and hopefully we can scan it some more, so we can increase the you know, how much the percentage of how much we've completed it. You see they tend to if they're a little bit more difficult to scan, it might take you a while to get them, because they tend to like bounce around a little bit, but that's all okay. gonna zoom in a little bit, decrease the probe size again. And you just continue doing that basically until you and then at a certain point you will also be able to see like what it really is, because we haven't really seen that as of yet. Okay, so it is a relic site. So we found it now, so we can also just we're gonna warp to it at range as well, just to
Warp drive
see what
active.
it is. All these things have names. Like this is called Crumbling Guista's Explosive Debris. You can type this name into Google, and it will show you, you know, what the relic site is, what kind of enemies that you can expect to find there, and you'll get a general explanation of how you can complete it. So, for instance, this relic site is not locked behind a, um, you know, a gate. Um, so you just have, you know, the site in general. You can see the containers that you need to hack in order to get the loot from them. Um, and I don't know the specific site, but you know, most likely or probably there will be some NPC spawn, or maybe these cans explode or anything. That is all possible, but that's what you can look up on Google. Yeah, so that's basically how you can, you know, scan for stuff in space. This was, you know, a really short introduction to that. So uh, golden tips: always fit a cloak, so you can, you know, scan from relative safety. So you know, they're going to be able to see your scanner probes in space if they look on the D-scan, just as you can see mine at the moment. So people will know that you're scanning, but they're not going to be able to see your ship. They won't be able to, you know, to see you. Um, uh, yeah, so that's basically that. You can also scan for ships. I'm not going to cover that completely in this tutorial. I'll quickly show you how that looks. You also have combat scanners. Wait, there's a question here that I did not see. Sometimes if a can explodes, if you fitted your Heron with uh, like a like a medium shield extender, it might survive, but they'll probably give tips and tricks on the fittings that you can use for some of these sites too. If you check it on Google, um, if there are more NPCs on the other side of these gates, uh, yeah, because if you take the gate, then you get launched into the site, and then a combat site could contain multiple of these gates that you need to take in order to complete the site. So that's also a thing. Um, so yeah, most like that there's like always stuff to shoot after each gate. Um, I've quickly just to show how that looks like a little bit. I have switched to these combat scanner probes. Their base strength is less, uh, and you'll only be able to use these in scanning ships. So I see that there is in this instance there's a mining barge on D scan. So we're gonna try and find where he is. Uh, so we're gonna launch spread formation again. We do want to be kind of like in the center of the system that we're in, which is this. Then just try and see if we can find him. Let's see. We'll want to scan for ships only, but I don't know. Oh. Don't know if we're gonna find anything. No, I'm probably just try one more time, and otherwise we'll just have to leave that for a different. Yeah, well, I'll just have to leave that for a different class. But you can also just use combat scanner probes to hunt down ships, and at that point, if you complete, the scan to 100%, you can also warp to the ship. Because you've pinpointed their location, and then you can warp the rest of your fleet onto that ship too, and you can try and kill him. Yeah, that's basically the small introduction.
Warp drive active.
So yeah, again, try and find a exploration ship that suits you. Just try out with some cheap Tech 1 ships, and if you're interested in doing more with them, train into like a T2 ship or buy a faction one, and just have fun. The combat sites are cool to run. The relic and the data sites often give decent loot. If you go into nullsec, the loot gets better because it's more danger, more reward. So ISEC sites tend to give out less of a reward, and of course wormhole sites are the most dangerous to do, but they also tend to give the most reward. But you'll have to be careful with those. Thanks a lot for attending. I'll stop the stream at this point, and I hope that you'll join next time. So stop the stream now.